Hello everybody, I am here to show you how to tie a climber's knot for belay climbing. It's going to look like this, I'll show you in a second. But of course, what we want to sort of establish here first is what are the climber knots, what are they for? Right, in belay climbing, you are essentially rigged up to a harness, goes around your waist, essentially, and it is the connection point between you and a rope, which is attached to a pulley at the top of the climbing wall, right? And this is essentially a sort of pulley or winch system intended to allow a belayer, a person on the other side of the rope, to catch you effectively and lower you down when you get to the top, should the need arise, right? I'm going to untie this real quick. I want you to essentially pretend as though this USB band is kind of it's the part of a harness, right, that would attach to your body. And from your own point of view, it would look very much like this, a loop from which the sharp end of the rope, so to speak, loops through. Let's go over terminology really fast. I'm going to be using two parts of the rope here. One of these with the knot is symbolizing the sort of end that goes up to the sort of pulley system, so to speak, the belayer's end, the worker's end, whereas the one you'll be working with is the sharp end, so to speak. It is the end which we will be using mainly to tie our knots. To begin, we should probably establish also why we would tie you in using the figure 8 knot and double the figure 8 knot, which is what I'm going to be showing you, rather than, let's say, I don't know, the shoelace knot. The reason why is because although both are technically self-tightening knots, this one is both more secure and has never really, it's easier to untie, right? And we'll see why in a second. The thing we should probably establish first is how to tie a figure 8 knot, and I'm going to go with the alien head method. The concept here is I'm going to use, in my left hand, the non-working end, the belay end, and in my right, the sharp end, right? But I'm gonna try to refer to my hand as the kind of sharp hand or maybe working hand. Left hand is the belay hand or left hand. I'll try to anyways. What you want to do is start by kind of making a loop in your belay hand, right? This loop is going to have kind of your sharp end facing away from your fingers and the belay end sort of towards your palm. And what you want to do is actually grab it and twist it away from you, in the direction away from the palm itself, like that. The goal is to have the sharp end crossing in front of the belay end, just like this. Okay, let's try that again. You want the sharp end here to not to make a loop and not cross it this way, where it's going to be sort of behind, so to speak, in your own first person perspective, right? You want it in front. And what you're going to do is you're going to take the sharp end and you're going to go around it, right? From the back to the front. Making sure it doesn't get caught up or anything. Now you want to go around it. That's what it looks like right from there. And then imagine this is a bit of like an alien head looking forward. You're forward. You want to sort of stab it from the front in the eye. A little morbid, but that's just how it is. And if you do it correctly, it should come out to a knot that looks very much like a figure 8 or infinity sign, right? With the belay end coming out one, and the other sort of loop, the other hole having the sharp end. Now, broadly speaking, these knots are tied kind of somewhat vertically in your own perspective. That's why I have the phone set to vertical. And pretending as though this is our sort of harness loop from which we would attach ourselves to the rope, we want to loop it under from forward to back, but not back to forward, right? Forward to back, just like this, right? As you can see, the sharp end is now on our side of the loop, and then the non-sharp end, the belay end, on the other side. And the goal here is that we're going to essentially have this sharp end follow this line, right? Its own behind, so to speak. going up through this hole behind the belay end through the sort of cross section, and then once again poking through the other hole, right? And I'll follow you through with this. So what we do is we start the same path as, again, the sharp end does for its rear. You go underneath, trying to sort of minimize the gap between the knot itself and the belay. Right, this is what it looks like so far, right? Remember that we're following this line right here, or excuse me, this line right here, and it will be going around and up. So exactly what we're going to do, we're going to have it go up here, not in front, but behind. That way it can follow into that hole exactly where it would appear to go through in the first figure 8, right? Because if we do it in front, for example, it would sort of cross over and it actually wouldn't be able to go through all the way anyways. So we go behind that belay end into the cross section. I know it's a bit jumbled, but here. And it should already kind of look a bit like the double figure 8 we're looking for, right? Now, as you can tell, this is still the end we're going for, right? All you have to do is reverse the belay end, sort of figure out where that's coming from. So then we would need to, go around the front. And then, just like the belay end, poke through the back. We're essentially having the free end, the sharp end, working through the same path, working through the same path as the belay end, right? This one being the belay end. And eventually, you will come out sort of pulling it through like this. And that is a double figure 8, right? Kind of like two eyes almost. And although I don't have much rope here, I imagine you could, for extra security, in fact, you should, for extra security, tie a bit of a knot here. Something a bit more, kind of something that goes completely around. Something that can be more like a shoelace knot or a hitch knot, right? I'll actually untie it and show you the hitch knot itself, because I don't have tons of rope with me. But the goal behind that is to mainly make sure that you have enough rope so that if there is some give, there is some slip, it won't slip very far and it won't undo the knot, right? Here, let me show you that that hitch knot. Again, on the right side, right here, we're gonna have the sharp end, left side the belay end, and we would basically create kind of an X shape, right? And that's where the crossing would be. Okay, not going under, not going through, but around itself. This is the tricky part. You'd want to go through the X itself right there and come out in the same place that the belay end would be, right? And this is something that you tie with the remaining pieces of the sharp end after you do the double figure 8. I just didn't have enough rope here, but that should be it. Again, to recap, we want to have the figure 8 around the kind of harness loop in order to give a secure grounding between us, some sort of anchoring between us and the rope itself, and then use that in turn to and sort of like tie it with that figure 8 because it's highly secure, it's self-tightening. But yeah, that's effectively the whole of the concept.